When you hear the term elder abuse, what generally comes to mind? Perhaps an elder in a nursing home being neglected and as a result developing bed sores? No doubt elder abuse is a growing problem. While we don't know all of the details, we do know that elder abuse occurs. How exactly is elder abuse defined? How can we stop elder abuse? Is there an increasing awareness about this problem? What are the different types of elder abuse? What are the signs and symptoms of each type of elder abuse? Who tends to be the abuser? Are there laws that protect against elder abuse? What steps can be taken to protect against elder abuse? Is help available for victims? Should concerned people like you who spot the warning signs of a possible problem make a call for help if an elder is in need of assistance? Hello, my name is Attorney Ramsey Bahrawy and welcome to Your Money, Your Life. In this segment, my guest and I will talk about elder abuse. My guest is B. Stankard of Elder Services of Merrimack Valley. B, it's great to have you on the program. Welcome to Your Money, Your Life.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, let's first start with what is elder abuse? How is it defined?
Well, elder abuse is basically abuse, somebody hurting a person age 60 or older.
So let's go into then the major types of elder abuse. Let's start with, first of all, emotional. There's emotional abuse. What is that? How is that defined? And let's, if you can, give us some examples.
Okay, emotional abuse generally is one of the harder ones to define. It's somebody saying things that have an effect that hurt you. You're stupid. You never can do anything right. Those are all forms of emotional abuse. Words that hurt. Words that have that effect of making you feel bad and really making you frightened, making you afraid.
Right. Can intimidation be considered
Certainly.
Emotional abuse?
Intimidation, you know, if you do that, I will do whatever. We tend to think of somebody who's going to be the abuser as being the male, but often it can be a wife that's emotionally abusive to her husband.
Okay, so let's talk a little about physical abuse. What is physical abuse, and let's talk about some examples.
Physical abuse is probably the easiest to see and maybe the hardest to admit. You can see a bruise. You can see that somebody has been hit, they've been cut.
What happens if you have a situation of, as you mentioned, physical abuse is obvious. So let's say you have a situation where somebody has a serious injury of some sort and it happened in the home and it's an elder and the injury is so serious that they have to go to the emergency room. Can the emergency room do anything?
The emergency room staff, the doctors, the nurses, they're what is called mandated reporters.
Okay.
So they should be reporting it to the local Elder Protective Service Agency, as happens to be at Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley.
Abuse, abandonment, that's a form of abuse. Can you tell us what that is? What is abandonment? And perhaps give us some examples.
Well, the abandonment would probably come under the category of neglect. You know, you take your mother to the nurse, to the ER and say, not going to deal with her anymore, she's your problem now. And she's not able to make those decisions anymore for herself.
In your opinion, is there a fine line between emotional abuse and abandonment? Let me give you, for instance, you have, let's say, a son or a daughter who says to the elder mom, you know, I don't want to talk to you anymore. In other words, I'm going to give you the silent treatment. Now, is that an emotional abuse or is that an abandonment?
That would be emotional. And if it has an effect on the elder. When you're looking at actual abuse, or the types of abuse under the law, abandonment is not a specific abuse.
Okay.
It would come under neglect or emotional abuse.
Well, let's talk a little about neglect, since you brought it up. What is neglect? What does it mean to be neglectful of an elder?
From something as simple as not getting them the medications they need, to leaving them in a bed without the necessary changing the bed, not taking care of their skin so that they would get bed sores, not having food for them or the appropriate food.
What if you have a situation where you have, again, let's say son or daughter, and I don't mean to pick on the children, but I'm going to use that example. They go visit mom or dad in their home, and they notice in the refrigerator there isn't a whole lot to eat. Is it neglect if the son or daughter doesn't say, look, mom, dad, let's get in the car, let's go to the grocery store, let's buy groceries, or is it up to mom and dad to fend for themselves?
Well, there's such a thing as self-neglect. A few years ago, the law was changed to add what we used to call elders at risk, and it became self-neglect. Now, a child is not a mandated reporter. A nurse is. So the nurse that comes in, the public health nurse or the visiting nurse that comes in and sees that this elder doesn't have food, is mandated to report that to the Protective Service Agency because it's self-neglect. My thought would be the daughter should call the local protective agency. The mother may have started drinking and the daughter's not aware of it, or she may have some mental health issues that is allowing her not to feed herself.
Protective Services send somebody to the house. Mom opens the door, she opens it just a little bit, and she says, I don't want anyone in my house, and she closes the door. Now what?
Well, we try very hard to build rapport with that person. The report source is always confidential.
Okay. So you're saying that there are ways to gain the elder's cooperation.
And it may be 3 or 4 visits before you get in.
Now, let's say the daughter also continuing with the scenario, you know, she's called, the people can't get in the house, so now she calls Meals on Wheels, she has meals delivered, the elder isn't eating those meals either. What can the daughter now do?
Again, there's not an awful lot. You can't make somebody eat, but we can work with them. And truthfully, if the parent doesn't have the capacity to make that decision anymore, I mean, there are other steps you can take. You as an attorney know guardianship, conservatorship, things like that.
There are.
But those steps are so far down the road.
And they take time, and they're due process rights.
And we're glad we have those due process rights.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about financial exploitation. That's a form of abuse, right?
It is.
How is that defined? And let's talk about some examples.
Financial exploitation is taking an elder's money or property for something that is not for the elder's benefit.
Okay. That's a pretty straightforward definition.
Pretty straightforward. Grandma, you got to do this for me. If you don't do this for me, all these awful things are going to happen to me. And they play on that guilt.
Right. So financial exploitation can be the misuse of one's authority, like under a power of attorney. It can be the misuse of an elder's funds for one's own personal benefit. It can be actual theft of funds or properties, right?
But not by a stranger.
No, not by a stranger, no.
But by somebody that you have a relationship with, a friend, a neighbor.
Okay, well, let's talk about friends. Well, the so-called new friend, is that somebody who oftentimes can engage in financial exploitation?
That new friend is often, because again, the elder is isolated, the elder doesn't have a lot of friends. You know, friends may have died, they've moved away, children have moved away, and now this new friend moves in and convinces them that they need an automobile, that they need money for something, and the elder gives it with the thinking that, you know, they're doing something good, that they're helping the new friend.
So to protect oneself from financial exploitation, what should one be doing?
Being very careful of what and who you involve in your money, not new friends, and not particularly neighbors. I had somebody who he had 2 neighbors writing checks. Well, the neighbors were writing 1 check for the elder and 2 for themselves. Talking to an attorney before you just get a power of attorney. There's too many things on the internet that people think they can do themselves.
Right. Now, what about forgery? Do people actually try to forge someone else's signature?
Yeah. And we wouldn't make that determination. Financial exploitation has to be, by law, reported to the district attorney. So we would let them and the police deal with it, although we would have the client file an affidavit of forgery with the bank. But we're not the one to make the determination whether this is forged or not.
Right.
Sexual abuse. We don't like to think that sexual abuse is something that would happen to an elder, but it is another abuse of an elder.
So are there laws that protect elders from elder abuse?
Yes. Chapter 19A of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
And until recently, elder abuse laws basically were handled by the states. Then we had the Healthcare Reform Bill, which was signed by President Obama, and contained within that now is the Elder Justice Act, which is a federal law, which is now taking action with regard to elder abuse, and the Attorney General is involved, the Secretary of Health and Education is involved, and elder abuse is a serious issue, and the federal government's taken notice.
It happens all over the country. It happens to rich people, it happens to famous people, it happens to poor people.
Okay, you mean like Mickey Rooney?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think it's a great place for us to stop. Across Massachusetts, in every community, on every day, elders are confronted with serious issues that are characterized as elder abuse. They're neglected by their caretakers, family members, and friends. They're financially exploited. They're physically abused. Others are neglected, while others still are sexually abused. Each year, hundreds of thousands of older persons face this fate. Many older victims are people who are frail, vulnerable, and cannot help themselves because they depend on others to meet their most basic needs. Abusers of older adults are both women and men, and may be family members, friends, or trusted others. Many people who hear the term elder abuse often think of an elder in a nursing home being neglected. In some cases, that may be correct. However, family members do engage in elder abuse. Did you know that 90% of elder abuse and neglect incidents are by known perpetrators, usually family members? That 2/3 are adult children or spouses? So what can we do? Learn the warning signs of elder abuse. Also be alert. Suffering of elders is often done in silence. If you notice changes in a senior's personality or behavior, you should start to ask questions and find out what's going on. Also understand that in most states, mandatory reporters of elder abuse are legally required to report suspected cases of elder maltreatment. Bottom line, elder abuse is a serious problem in this country. States are enacting laws against elder abuse and are putting in place systems for reporting suspected abuse. Remember, it's not your role to verify that abuse is occurring, only to alert others of your suspicions. Therefore, educate yourself so you will become more aware of the specific signs of elder abuse. For in the words of Ben Franklin, an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. My name is Attorney Ramsey Bahrawy, building your trust.